31 days of October, week 2. Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome to another fun-filled week of 31 days of October 2018. This week has been cray-cray for me, okay? I started my Road to Halloween 2018 daily vlog. Every day I've been dropping a video for each movie, just a vlog style video. I'll put a playlist link right here. And yeah, it's really been filling my week up like crazy. I am a little tired, but you know what? It's worth it. This is like the year for Halloween, and I'm trying to make the most of it. But the good news for you is I have 6 amazing guests. A couple of friends of the channel that have been on before, and then a couple of brand new ones for this year, and they are heavy hitters. So looking forward to seeing what they watched this week. Also, if you'll notice, Woody Bowen Designs, he created a 31 Days of October t-shirt. And you can see Sam from Trick or Treat on there, and he's taking a bite out of a lollipop, and that's my head on the lollipop. But if you want one of these shirts, go to the Drumdums store and you can get you a 31 Days of October official t-shirt. And while I'm at it, check this one out. He made this, he drew this other one too. This is the Killaflix mod t-shirt. It's got all of our heads in a pile. Probably stinks too. But yeah, it's all our heads. So throw that away, there you go. But that shirt's available there too if you want that. But literally right after this, I'm jumping into my Halloween 6 daily vlog. So really busy, but hey, 31 Days of October still has to go on. And also, I'm trying to see if I can hook up an early showing of Halloween 2018. Might not happen, probably won't happen, but I'm seeing what kind of strings I can pull. But this is it, guys. This is the week. This upcoming week, the movie comes out Thursday. You know, Friday they'll tell you, but it's really Thursday. Thursday night is when movies really come out. So looking forward to seeing this movie. I can't believe it's almost here. It's crazy. But anyway, let me go ahead and name my awesome guests. For this week, we're gonna have Cecil and Jaime and the gang from the horror show, Vicki from Nightmare Maven, my good friend, and he's been on every year, Durant Cinema, who is always a fun time. Everybody loves Durant. And newcomers, I have Andrew R. Davis. Been really wanting to get him on the channel. Shawn Chandler, who is a channel that has only been around for, I think, a little over a year, maybe 2 years. And then lastly, been wanting to get these guys on the channel for a long time. Bloodbath and Beyond are gonna close it up. I can't believe I got these guys on my channel, and I'm super, super excited. But first off, Cecil, Jaime, and the gang from the horror show. They have, really this last year, I've become fast friends with them. And we've done some streams together. They actually interviewed me on a stream quite a while back. But they have so much interesting and fun content on their channel. They do a lot of conventions, which is cool. They do tons of reviews. They do a thing where they have like horror news with booze, or they get a little sauced, which is always fun. But if you want like variety in your YouTube channel, then look no further than the horror show. I mean, there's tons of great variety, and you know what? I always try to do that with my channel. I always try to give different options because I get bored with things, and I get the feeling that they get bored with things too. So they do an awesome job, and I'm really excited to have them on the channel. So anyway, horror show, take it away.
What's up, everyone? I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm March Parker.
I mean, Fuego here.
And we are the Horror Show channel. And first, we wanted to say thank you very much to Lee for having us on his 31 Days of October, a Drumdums, basically a tradition at this point. So we are excited to be a part of it this year. And we are going to tell you guys a little bit about what we have been absorbing horror-wise this October. So, Marsha, why don't you start us off? Ladies first.
All right. Well, in our horror show tradition, I have been watching a lot of horror TV. I'm excited for the new lineups that's coming up. And so, to go back into our good roots, I have been watching American Horror Story. I have been braving it all these years, even through last year. But this year, I have big hopes. I'm really excited.
Crossover.
Yeah, it is a crossover, I guess, ish. The apocalypse, it's a lot of fun. So if you guys are looking for that horror TV fix, I definitely recommend the American Horror Story series this year. You're going to be able to see our world explode. You'll get to see Kathy Bates and Sarah Paulson have this weird robotic and lesbian-ish affair as they murder and kill and rule over them all. Evan Peters is delightful as always. So it's very interesting cast, very interesting story, and it reminds me a lot of Roanoke now because the first couple episodes bring you one direction, but then it starts to veer in another direction, which is exciting. It's not kind of going up and down. It feels like it's going in a momentum. So I'm excited.
Cool. And then you're going to have new horror TV very soon because Chilling Adventures of Sabrina drops.
Yes.
So does Light as a Feather.
Yes.
What is
Obviously,
that?
premieres of Supernatural and Walking Dead.
Supernatural and
Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead.
tonight.
Exactly. Yep. So lots of horror TV coming our way. Fuego, what have you been going through?
Well, I'm always going through Stephen King, like constantly, and obviously in October.
For a specific reason, right?
Yeah, it's for a specific reason, because I do a program twice a week here on the Horror Show called Hail to Stephen King, Damn Rizzle, every Tuesday and Saturday, unless we have another piece of content that we shift in, whether it's like a new review or an interview or something like that. And so I have a series called Films That Forgot the Face of Their Father, where I look at sequels to King stuff that is not based on anything he wrote, and I kind of give it a grade and stuff. And I just got done watching Firestarter 2 Rekindled. I'm not sure if anyone has ever seen that before, with Marguerite Moreau, who was on Wet Hot and who was on the Mighty Ducks movies and stuff. Oh boy, was she on Wet Hot. Anyway, she's a babe in it, and she does a pretty good performance. The writing is kind of here and there, but I think Malcolm McDowell is quite strong as a returning Rainbird with like his burnt up face and everything, and just seeing what Charlie could be like all grown up and still dealing with these powers and stuff. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. It seriously was, and it was produced by the USA Network and then eventually aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. But there's some good practical, there's some good burn effects. They blend the CGI poorly at times, but surprisingly well at others. And yeah, it's a little plodding, it's a little long, but if you're a fan of the original Firestarter film, this is at least worth a watch. It seriously is. It's out of print, it's tough to track down, so between juggling that and also reading Nightmares and Dreamscapes this past week for some anniversary coverage in September, it saw its 25th anniversary, and so in upcoming weeks of the show, we're doing 2 stories a week, picking 2 short stories. I just got done reading The End of the Whole Mess, which was adapted previously on TNT and is about this guy who finds a protein in this particular water 40 miles from Waco, Texas, that basically makes people docile, zero conflict whatsoever, and he hatches this plan. He's like a child prodigy genius where he wants to take this protein, throw it into a volcano, and have it spread across the entire world, and it'll basically save mankind from destroying ourselves. But there's a catch. And yes, the story is good. Pretty much most of the stories in Nightmares and Dreamscapes are good. It has Night Flyer, which was adapted really well. It has Popsy. It has the 10 O'Clock People, which is another favorite of mine. So yeah, I have lots more to read in the coming days, which I'm stoked about. I'm reading Stephen King on the daily pretty much for the last like 8 years. So there you have it.
All right, and then basically I've been doing a little bit of everything. So just so you guys know a little bit about the channel, obviously we do Hail to Stephen King twice a week. We do TV coverage where we can. The horror story coverage will probably be episode 1 halfway, and then the ends, like we do some of these in order to get them all done. But we also do regular trailer reactions, regular movie reviews, including advanced movie reviews. We already have a review up of Bad Times at the El Royale, which just came out this past weekend, even though we got to see it 2 weeks early, so that's something that you guys should go and check out. We also do celebrity interviews. We just recently interviewed David Howard Thornton from Terrifier, who played Art the Clown. It was a great hour-and-a-half long interview where we got to ask some questions for the viewers that were watching as well. So that was a lot of fun. And we also do convention coverage and event coverage. We are actually going to be doing live coverage from Halloween Horror Nights on October 13th. And then we're going to be doing both live and taped coverage of that and the Halloween H40 celebration in California. So we're going to have both the First Shape and the New Shape sign our Coexist shirt with a bunch of the other stars that we have. So that's going to be good fun. And the other thing that you guys specifically on Lee's channel would be excited about are these. We do regular horror comic book reviews, And these specifically, I am doing a 3-part Halloween. I can't get them all right here. I can't get them fanned out right. Thank you.
There you go.
It's a 3-part Halloween comic book review series. So I am going to be reviewing the first 4-issue series called Halloween Night Dance. These are all from 10 years ago at this point, but that review is already up. I go through what happens in these 4 issues. Next, I'm going to do a review of Halloween 30 Years of Terror, which is an anthology book that was celebrated 10 years ago, obviously, now that it's 40 years later. So that's fun, and both of these tie into the movies. And then what I have here are 2 issues of a 3-issue series called Halloween, The First Death of Laurie Strode. This was supposed to be 3 issues. The 3rd issue never came out, and it was supposed to be followed up with a series called Halloween Mark of the Thorn. But rights issues hung it up, and so they never actually came out. But I will be going into it and telling the whole story about why they never came out. Our comic book coverage, our horror comic book coverage is regular. We did the new Pumpkinhead series, the Hatchet comic book series. We will be doing all of the Nightmare on Elm Street books, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre books, the Chucky books, a bunch of other ones, Jeepers Creepers that just finished. Plus, we have new series that are just now coming out that I'll review, which is a Bubba Hotep sequel. They made the vampire script into a comic. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, has a 4-issue comic that I'll be reviewing, and then Dollman Kills the Full Moon Universe is a 4-issue series that I'll be reviewing as well. So lots of great coverage. Stranger Things also, yes, a 4-issue Stranger Things series just started as well, so look forward to that too. Thank you, Fuego.
Yeah.
So as you can see, guys, we are a true horror variety show. You can catch all kinds of stuff if you click the link in the description box. I'm sure Lee is going to put down there for you guys, but thank you very much for checking us out, and thank you, Lee, once again for having us take part in the 31 Days of October, even though one of us doesn't know when to hold our coughs.
I can't control it.
Gracias, Lee. You rock, brother.
Absolutely. So thank you guys very much, and remember, from us here at the Horror Show, stay scared. All right, couple of hams.
Next up, Vicki from Nightmare Maven. I actually had her for the first time on last year's 31 Days. One thing I love about Vicki is that she has this series called Stale Movie Reviews, where she goes back and reviews a lot of older horror movies, but more importantly, movies that you might not have even heard of. Because a lot of times, like Spooky Astronauts, I'll see reviews that pop up, and she stays consistent too, by the way. And it'll be for movies that I've never even heard of, which is really cool. And she always does a really great job giving her opinions on films, and she's just a great friend. She is one of the nicest people in the community that I've ever seen, and it's an honor to have her back. So anyway, looking forward to seeing what she watched. Take it away, Vicki.
Hey there, creepy peeps, and happy October. I hope all of you guys are having the best month, enjoying all the spooky times, and watching all the horror movies like I am this month. My name is Nightmare Maven. I'm also a horror tuber, and I review all sorts of horror movies over on my YouTube channel, which is called Nightmare Maven, you know. Before I get into what I watched this week, I want to say a massive, massive thanks to Lee for inviting me back again this year. I look up to Lee and his channel and everything he does in this community so much, so it is a huge honor to be back again, so thank you. All right, now, sappy shit aside, let's get into what I watched this week. Like so many other horror tubers, I've been reviewing a movie every single day of October. You know, 'tis the season. So I've been watching a lot of those movies this week. You'll be able to see my full review of each of these movies over on my channel this week, but I'll just go over really quick what it is I watched. So the first thing I watched is Demon Knight, which is a 1995 horror comedy a la Tales from the Crypt. The movie follows Frank Breaker, played by William Sadler, who is in the possession of a key that can unlock a tremendous evil. Billy Zane plays the Collector. The Collector is a demon who wants that key so he can unleash the evil and start the apocalypse. You know, as you do. So Breaker holds up in a boarding house in New Mexico, and with the help of its residents, fends off the Collector and his band of ghouls. Next, I watched 1977's The Car, which stars James Brolin as Sheriff Wade Parents, who is called into a small desert town in Utah to investigate a series of hit-and-run murders. Things take a turn for the weird, however, when witnesses come forward to testify that the black sedan used in the murders seemingly has no driver. Then I watched The Relic, which is a 1997 film based on a book with the same name. The movie follows a homicide detective and an anthropologist who are investigating a series of gruesome murders on a cargo ship that was traveling from South America. And after that, I watched Race with the Devil. Race with the Devil follows two married couples who are on vacation in their RV traveling from Texas to Colorado. But whilst on their trip, they accidentally stumble upon and witness a satanic ritual sacrifice. I hate when that happens. So after reporting the incident to the police, and of course the police don't believe them, they decide to go on with their RV vacation, but end up being stalked and attacked by the cult members. And of course, as it is my favorite month of the year, I've been watching some of my all-time favorites that I watch every single year for Halloween. Trick or Treat being one of them, which is an awesome horror Halloween themed anthology directed by Michael Dougherty. I highly recommend. It is a fantastic film. And because it's the 25th anniversary this year, I've been watching a lot more Hocus Pocus than I normally do, which is already a lot. That movie needs no introduction, neither does A Nightmare Before Christmas, which I've also been watching a lot of this year, and it's also celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. I also rewatched Tales of Halloween this year, which is another horror Halloween based anthology, which is also really good. I don't love it quite as much as Trick or Treat, but it's still very well done. And one of my all-time favorite movies in general, not just horror movies that take place on Halloween, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. I love that movie, and while it's not completely full of like Halloween-ness, it is still a great movie. It's a fun movie, especially if you're a fan of Rob Zombie and his style. Highly recommend. But most importantly, this past week, in preparation for the upcoming movie, I marathoned the entire Halloween franchise. And for those of you that are meeting me for the first time here on Lee's channel, I will tell you that prior to this week, I had only seen about half of the Halloween franchise. I had previously seen the first one, obviously, Season of the Witch, H2O, which was actually my first Halloween movie that I ever saw. I was quite young, don't remember really watching it for the first time. I just remember Josh Hartnett because I had a massive crush on him. Still do. And then obviously I have seen Rob Zombie's 2 remakes. So I was missing a huge chunk of the franchise, so I thought now would be the perfect time to marathon the whole franchise. Now, as a 90s baby, I didn't really grow up watching the Halloween movies, so all the hype surrounding the new film I didn't really participate in, because while I love the first movie, I love the first Halloween to death, I just didn't grow up watching it, so I didn't have like the nostalgia factor that some people do. So I completely understand the hype for it. Since marathoning the entire franchise, I gotta say, I'm converted. I mean, and now I can say with complete honesty that Halloween is definitely my favorite franchise now. Laurie Strode is absolutely my favorite final girl, and Michael Myers is definitely my favorite slasher. One second, please. Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, that's easy. Scream. I mean, Halloween. Definitely Halloween.
Wrong. You've been on YouTube for 4 years and you've said in almost every single video that Scream is your favorite scary movie.
Okay, listen. I'm doing a video for Lee. Lee, I'm trying to make a good impression here, and he'll skin me alive if I don't say Halloween is my favorite. But we all know that Scream is my favorite movie, Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl, and you, Ghostface, are definitely my favorite slasher. Oh shit. I've gotta go.
You hang up on me and I'll gut you like a fish.
Oh, you always say that. Listen, you seem like a reasonable guy. I mean, this is just a skit. It's, you know, just funny, you know, for YouTube. YouTube, you know? No? Okay. The important thing is I was kidding. I was just kidding. Okay, you really are scary. It was just a skit, please, please. It was just a skit. It was just a skit. I love Halloween. It's my favorite movie. I love John Carpenter.
Next up, my good buddy, Durant. Durant and I have been friends since the start of this whole journey. He is one of the first people that I met after starting YouTube. I think he might have commented on a video that I did that had like 4 views, and we just struck up a fast friendship. And he is one of those guys that's just a whiz with editing. You know, he knows how to really put a great video together. He's hilarious, and he has the best Blu-ray trip video that you can find on the internet. He's just so good at those, you know, going out, finding what's available. And you see a lot of those channels, but Durant really sticks out because he's so charismatic and he really is funny as hell, and he knows how to like almost like tell a story along the journey. So yeah, anyway, Dave, tell him what you watched.
What is going on, guys? I'm Dave from Durant Cinema. First off, Lee, thank you for having me back on here again for 31 days of October. It's always a blast. Lee, you're blowing up on YouTube and Facebook. I remember when you had 300 subscribers. Now, look at you. A baby that I had who's just grown, and I'm so proud. Like my Halloween Christmas sweater, Michael freaking Myers. It's outside, it's a nice day, it's fall, we got the leaves. And the first horror movie that I started off with October was Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill. Joking, guys, I would never watch that again. Stay away from that movie. I'm not joking. Stay away. For real, the first movie that I watched was Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2. The second one I thought was okay, but it was better. I liked the couple who investigated the situation. I liked them more in the second one. I liked the villains. But overall, it was okay. It didn't scare me. It didn't go, oh! It was okay. It was a decent watch. It just didn't do anything for me. For Conjuring 2, I know a lot of people probably liked it. Let me know in the comments, which one did you like more, Conjuring 1 or 2? And the second movie that I watched was Strangers 2. So good. I love it. It came out this year. A lot of people seem to hate it. I have no idea why. Sure, maybe the characters are not that smart. I mean, like Saw 1 and 2, how they are. The first one's grounded. It's one location. It's intense. It's a great film, well made. The second one, just as good, but explores more. A little different, but yet the same. Music. Guys, the music, so good. No, legit, it was good. Turn around. Turn around. I thought this movie was gonna be okay, but definitely surprised me, and I had a blast. The next one that I watched was, of course, Halloween. Right here, this guy, Michael Myers, the first one and the second one. Only the movie by itself is absolutely amazing, but like I said, I had a little spice with the Wham commentary. We watched the movie.
I like how he stops you like, "What you say, bitch?"
I know. He was like, "You got a problem with my driving?"
I usually listen to the commentaries at work, but I was like, I want to watch it with Halloween this time. It was beautiful. I had an amazing time. Those guys are hilarious. One of my favorite YouTubers. And to mix it with this movie, brilliant. So I had a blast. And Halloween 2 is just as good. It's underrated. I love how Michael Myers is so brutal in this movie. He's just so brutal. He's just gonna stab your face off and wear it. No, that's a different movie. Is that Jason, hockey mask guy?
People still put on hockey masks and try to scare you.
It's the wrong movie, baby.
Thing is, Michael Myers is what I'm talking about. Halloween 1 and 2 are absolutely my favorites out of the franchise. They're the best. They're the best, okay? They're the best. I'm just laying on this yard around all these houses. They'll probably think I'm fucking crazy. I'm probably gonna get up so they don't call the cops. Halloween 1 and 2, you can't go without October without watching them. Legit, I feel like it's a crime. They should make it a law. You have to watch it. You have to. Or you go to prison for like 3 years. That's a little extreme, but I'm just saying. The last movie that I watched, oh shit, all right. Crap, they're coming. I gotta tell you this quick before I get arrested. Oh, crap. The last movie that I watched was Child's Play. I have to watch it because it's my favorite horror film of all time. Chucky is amazing. Brad Dourif as the voice. beautiful, legendary. The battery scene is probably one of the most iconic scenes that still gives me chills till this day. Like my hair just rises up like Batman. It's hot chicken nuggets. Chucky is just so creepy. He's just like this little doll that just runs around. You have no idea where he is. He could be right up your butthole and you have no idea. Well, you probably would have an idea, but just saying that he's so crafty, he's smart, he's intelligent. He's just this doll that's coming after you. He's gonna kill you. Freaking creepy. That's intense. That's scary, and that's why I love it. That's why I love watching it every single year. He's my favorite slasher killer, my favorite horror film of all time. Child's Play 1 and 2, amazing movies. Say enough about them. They're just so good. All right, guys, I gotta go. Thank you, Lee, so much for having me on here. Truly appreciate it. And you're the man. Truly, you are the man. And I'll bring it back to you, my friend. Adios.
Next up, first time on the channel. He is actually kind of a neighbor of mine. He lives an hour away over in Orlando. He works at Halloween Horror Nights. He's actually a scare actor at Halloween Horror Nights, which is so interesting and so awesome. Andrew R. Davis. We struck up a great friendship over like the last year. You know, we chat with each other through DMs. We've talked about a few collabs, and I've been really trying to get him on my channel. You know, he's just one of those guys that just has such a vast knowledge of horror, and I love picking his brain about, you know, especially the business of scare acting. You know, it's just such an interesting business, and I can imagine that his voice must be pretty damn tired after every night. But one day, maybe I can get over to Orlando and actually see him in action, and maybe we do a collab together in person like me and Cody did quite a few months ago in Orlando. And also a big shout out to Brandon Tavato, because he actually lives here in Melbourne, which is where I live, which is so cool. So he's the one that sent me that Scream mask back there, but I'm looking forward to maybe meeting him one day. That'd be awesome. But anyway, really looking forward to seeing what Andrew watched. Take it away, Andrew.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generations X, Y, and Z inside Davis Manor, where we find humor in horror. And I'd like to thank Lee for hitting that button and getting us started. Of course, I'd like to thank Lee too, because I am contractually obligated to go ahead and thank him for being on the 31 Days of Halloween special. Actually, in all seriousness, I'd like to thank Lee for inviting me to be on here, because there are so many good creators, so many great channels. Make sure you go ahead, give them some love, watch some of their videos, sub to their channels. They're really good. They'd appreciate your support. So with that, I've been wanting to collab with Lee for some time, and I'm finally getting a chance to do it right here on one of my favorite holiday. Really, not one of my favorite holidays. It is my favorite holiday. And if you have no idea who I am, let me pause for self-promotion. My name is Andrew R. Davis, and I come from the channel Andrew R. Davis, because I lack imagination, or I'm ego-driven. I'll let you decide which one. Probably the latter of the two. I review TV shows on my channel, like the Walker Wednesday special that I have, and then I also review movies, mostly horror. I talk about my time in the haunt industry, working as a scare actor and other roles for Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. And I've done a couple characters. One of them is the original character Herman Blitzkrieg from the house run Blood, Sweat, and Fears. And then, of course, I did some promos on the Sci-Fi Channel and worked the event also as Gunnar Hansen's portrayal of Leatherface. I really enjoy that sound effect. Occasionally I do some Let's Plays and I blog about my life as well. So being on Drumdums 31 Days of Halloween special, I really wanted to combine two of my favorite things: reviewing horror movies, and then Halloween Horror Nights. So, I am reviewing movies that are being represented by Halloween Horror Nights, number 28 in Orlando. And I'm going to apologize right now for being long-winded. It is my nature, and you probably have already noticed that already. So let's start off with a movie that happens to have the word Halloween in the title, and that is Halloween 4. The Return of Michael Myers. Even though I saw the previous Halloween movies, this 1988 film is what made me fall in love with the slasher genre. The premise is simple. Michael Myers has been an invalid and in a coma since being blown up by Dr. Loomis 10 years prior at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. He awakens when he hears that his sister Laurie Strode is dead, but he has a 7-year-old niece named Jamie who is living with a foster family. So once again, he creates a bloodbath and a path of death and destruction in his wake, and Dr. Loomis, who has also survived the explosion, is on his trail. What a great way to start a new chapter in a franchise that had an ending. Side note, you see, there's this group called the Cannon Group. There was some producers that contracted Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. They wanted them to pen a treatment for a new title called Halloween 4, and the Cannon Group was planning on acquiring the rights to Halloween, just like they had done with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 movie back in 1986. And they passed on the Hill Carpenter treatment. They decided to go against acquiring the franchise altogether. So Hill and Carpenter then sold the remaining rights that they had to Mustafa Akkad. And then Mustafa Akkad said,
"We're putting the band back together."
Well, yeah, that might be paraphrasing a bit, but at any rate, the things that I enjoyed here with this new chapter is that Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis did come back from being absent from Halloween 3. Plus, Michael Myers dispatches his victims swift in new and inventive ways. I mean, we've got impalations. Impalations? Is impalations a word? Impalements. Plus, there are times that Michael Myers just used his bare hands to dispatch his prey. The pacing of the film is steady without any drags, and also, the survivor girl is a real girl, meaning a 7-year-old girl, not a late teenager. There are so many horror movies out there that have a child as the lead, and that usually makes the antagonist pretty weak because they kind of have to match him up, make him even, so the kid can thwart the antagonist. But no, Michael Myers is not a weak antagonist in this. He is very much a threat, and the thought of a mass murderer chasing down a little girl is quite frightening. The director does a decent job keeping Myers in the shadow while he stalks his prey, and the coloring, feel, and tone on the screen just screams Halloween in Illinois, even though it was filmed during the spring in Utah. So some of the things I don't enjoy that much about this film is that Myers is less of the essence and spirit of the boogeyman. He is more of a physical threat and a force of nature, if you will, and the original mask is gone. There's a new one that is made, and that's quite frankly a distraction for me. Plus, the fact that George P. Wilbur, who is the actor that portrays Michael Myers in this film, is 6'2", and he wore some hockey padding to bulk himself up underneath, look at the shape. I mean, not look at the shape as in the shape, but look at the way that he's built. It doesn't look right at all. And the point that I'm getting at here is that Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in the first film, and Dick Warlock, who played Michael Myers in the second film, are 5'10" and 5'9" respectively, and they have much slimmer frames. But at least Michael is not a 6'8", 300-pound Tyler Mane. For anyone that enjoyed the first 2 Halloween films, this is an acceptable sequel, and you will applaud seeing the return of Michael Myers back in Haddonfield doing his thing, and I enjoyed the ending, even though they didn't really build on the direction they were going, which would have been interesting. If you like your slashers to have a love triangle subplot, some inventive kills, and child abuse, get help. Seriously, you need it. But this film would be for you. The next movie, or I should say movies, that is tied to Halloween Horror Nights is The Horrors of Blumhouse, which in Orlando is a mashup of Happy Death Day and The First Purge. This review is going to be a quick one because I didn't see The First Purge. In fact, I feel that the Purge franchise sucks. Now, as far as Happy Death Day is concerned, once again, let me pause for self-promotion. You can go to my channel and you can go ahead and see the full review that I did for Happy Death Day. But I'm going to sum it up here for the Drumdum audience, and that is Teresa Tree Gelbman is a college student who must relive the day of her murder over and over again in a continuous loop that will end only when she discovers her killer's identity and stop from being killed. So yes, this movie is a lot like Groundhog Day, even though they mention it in the movie. They are that self-aware that they put it in the film. But for some reason, most reviewers feel the need to bring that up. Kind of like what I just did. At any rate, what I really dug about this movie, all in all, is the cinematography of the film and the visual direction. See, the story repeats itself over and over again, which could be very boring if you are watching the same scenes over and over again. But the cinematography changes the angles around. And then Tree, the character, changes things up a little bit as well, changing a sentence here and there as she's trying to figure out who the killer is. And that keeps things pretty fresh. And another plus of this film is that we have a survivor girl who doesn't really survive. She is constantly being killed throughout the movie, only to go through this over and over again, and that plays on her mind. But what happens is something that you might not think. Character development! I know, right? In a horror movie? That doesn't happen. I mean, at the beginning of the film, she is a real queen bee, and I don't mean the insect. I mean, in the start, she is not likable at all. But by the end of the film, you're really rooting for her, and that is a testament to the writing and to the acting of this film. However, the bummer of the flick is that I figured out the ending kind of quick, and chances are you are going to as well. So if you like slasher films but you don't need a lot of blood and gore, then this is for you, and the deaths are progressively more and more grandiose as time goes on, but they are still toned down for a PG-13 rating. I do think that this is purchase worthy, and I am actually looking for the sequel that's coming out next year called Happy Death Day to You. But now let's get into a film that's represented at HHN as a house where I am actually working as a puppeteer. This film is called Poltergeist. Poltergeist is a 1982 MGM horror classic that was written and produced by Steven Spielberg and directed by Tobe Hooper. And there's been a lot of talk on who really directed the film, Spielberg or Hooper. And let me clear the air on this one. Spielberg himself said in an interview with Time magazine that even though he was very involved with the film, Hooper directed it. So if you're out there saying that Spielberg secretly directed the film, then you are
fake news.
Well, I was going to say mistaken, but the story revolves around the Freelings. The Freelings are a typical Southern California family living in the suburbs. The father is a real estate developer that has moved his family into the latest development, which is called Cuesta Verde, which is the best Spanish that I'm going to be able to do here. And unbeknownst to him and the family, the development has cut a few corners here to save some money and have riled up a beast. What I enjoyed about this film was this is the very first horror movie that I ever saw from beginning to end. And I saw it when I was the age of the kids in the movie, and the film stuck with me because I looked at the story through the lens of the children. Now I can go back and look at it and I see it through the lens of the parents' view, which is actually how the narrative was written. And I can honestly say there is no movie out there, especially a horror movie, that I have been able to see firsthand through the lenses of one way and then the other. It's basically, I grew up with this film. Some people might find this movie nowadays a bit slow-paced. After all, things don't kick into gear until 20 to 30 minutes into this 2-hour film. Side note, Spielberg wanted to originally make this a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but with Tobe Hooper's suggestion of making this a horror ghost story, history was made. So, if you enjoy a detailed first act, a strong ghost story, believable acting, and cinematography and effects that really holds its own well after 35 years when it first came out, check this movie out. Moving on to the next film is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I can't say much about this film because the title says it all. The Killer Clowns are an alien race that have come to Earth to harvest people in this PG-13 MGM film while celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Mike Tobacco, yes, that is his last name, and girlfriend Debbie are trying to figure out how to stop them with the help of Officer Dave Hansen, Debbie's ex-boyfriend. Awkward! And the great John Vernon, he's also in this film as the secondary antagonist of the movie, Officer Curtis Mooney. For this movie, the pro is that the movie is fun, lighthearted, and does a great job of balancing humor with horror, and the practical creature effects of the clowns are fun and cartoony themselves, which is a great way to hide the sinister side of what these clowns want to do with everyone. Now for the movie, the acting is subpar at best, but then again, the material that the actors are working with, it's not Shakespearean drama. John Vernon's Officer Mooney is probably the most believable of all the characters and is a strong catalyst of the movie's narrative, but for the most part, almost every character in this film is one-dimensional with not much depth. If you can suspend your disbelief, this film is enjoyable. Expect people to die in ridiculous ways and realize that the filmmakers did not take things too serious when making this film. I mean, it's called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The title should have gotten you right there. I've had this film on many times at Halloween parties, playing on the TV, and it just gravitates people right there, sitting down on the couches, watching the film and laughing. Alcohol might have helped a little bit, but they were still laughing. Next film is Trick or Treat, where Killer Clowns is a comedy horror film. Trick or Treat is a dark comedy horror film. This R-rated 2007 movie was written and directed by Michael Daughtry and is an anthology film, so it has 4 interwoven tales of terror. And we follow the stories of high school principal Steve Wilkins, who takes Halloween traditions very seriously, also some teenagers that are pranking a girl with an urban legend. Then there is a college virgin named Lori who is looking for that special someone to be her first time. And arguably, the best story is last with Brian Cox, who is the original Hannibal Lecter, playing the mean-spirited and social recluse Mr. Krieg, who goes toe-to-toe with Sam, the iconic character of this franchise. There are a lot of good things about this film, but really the acting and the set design lead the pack on this one. The acting of the bookend stories hold everything together, and the set design looks as if the spirit of Halloween just threw up all over the screen. No offense, I mean that in a good way. Basically, watching this film before the Halloween season gets you pumped up to decorate your house. What was disappointing was the story. This anthology is interwoven and it really should be 4 separate tales with a narrative frame wrapping them instead of being intertwined. If that was done, instead, the film would have had a bigger scope. Having Krieg and Wilkins be neighbors doesn't serve the overall film, and it just makes the film feel smaller. Also, with everything being intertwined, I ended up, while watching the film, trying to figure out what order everything is happening, and it really pulled me out of the film, and that should not be happening to the audience. In my opinion, Trick or Treat is the sickening sweet blood, guts, and violence that most people enjoy, and if you aren't a fan of anthologies, this is still worth a rent just to watch. And that is the 5 movies that are always on my list this time of the year, and that are also represented at my place of work, Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. And once again, I would like to go ahead and thank Lee for inviting me to the 31 Days of Halloween special that he has here on the Drumdums channel. And speaking of the Drumdums channel, if you have not subbed yet, I don't know what you were waiting for. I already did. I did that a long time ago. So make sure you go ahead and sub and leave a comment down below telling Lee that you have subbed to the channel. And if you have subbed to the channel already and you never left a comment before and you never told him, now is the time. Go ahead and check it out. Also check out his group page, Killer Flicks, on Facebook. It is very cool. It is probably the most active group page that I have ever seen in the horror community. Definitely check it out. It is worth being there and mingling with like-minded crazy people like me, because I'm there too. I'm just saying. So also, before I go, let me pause one more time for self-promotion. Make sure you go ahead and check out my channel, youtube.com/Andrew R. Davis. You can go ahead, check out other horror movie reviews, and then you can also find more about the horror haunt industry with me and my Scare Actor Q&A series, which is 16 videos and climbing. So if you have any questions about what it's like working in the haunt industry, being a scare actor, puppeteer, all that other stuff, make sure you go ahead, check out my channel, throw a question. I will be more happy to answer you with that. And with that, I will see you in the next video.
Okay, next guest, first time on the channel, good friend of mine, Shawn Chandler. Really one of the busiest guys working today on YouTube, you know, because he's got a full-time job. He does YouTube and he treats it like a full-time job. He schedules out everything, and if you watch Shawn's content, you see why he has over 60,000 subscribers. This is the real deal for him. He is not treating this like a little hobby that some YouTubers do. He is trying to take this to the next level, which he already has. I mean, if you have 60,000 subscribers, you've taken it to the next level, and he got there pretty damn quick. But more importantly, he's great at what he does, you know, and he's very charismatic, always reaches out to his subscribers, let's face it, his fans. And, you know, he's one of those guys that's just going to shoot through the stratosphere. And I hope one day he looks down upon the little people like myself and says, hello there, little people. Yeah, Shawn Chandler. And you know what? He does not only horror, but he does all kinds of genres. You know, he does a lot of like the Marvel movies, Star Wars, regular reviews. I even see him like every Friday or Thursday. He'll do the new movies that come out. So he's one of the hardest working YouTubers I've seen today. So thank you, Shawn, for coming on my channel. Looking forward to seeing what you watched. Anyway, take it away, Shawn.
Hi, my name is Shawn Chandler. My channel is Shawn Chandler Talks About, and I started my channel essentially because I was driving everyone around me crazy talking about movies way too much, and essentially I just wanted to take that conversation that I was having with my friends, driving them crazy, the conversation I was having in the comment section of other people's YouTube channels, of movie blogs and things like that, and create my own channel where I would kind of drive the conversation. So I do movie reviews, ranking videos, and really anything that I think is an interesting subject to create a conversation about. that's where I want to jump in. So I was very happy when Lee invited me to join in on this discussion of what kind of movies I'm watching each week in preparation for Halloween. And with my channel, like I said, I do kind of one of the things I'm known for on my channel is doing ranking videos where I take movie franchises and rank them in order of worst to best. And in that, we are in October. We've got a new Halloween movie coming out, and so I've been trying to watch a whole bunch of horror movies this season in preparation for a couple different rankings I've got planned for the next few weeks. So to that point, what movies have I been watching this week? Well, there are two of my favorites, personal favorites, for very different reasons, the ones that I happen to watch this week. The first one, I don't have a Blu-ray for it. I don't even know if there's a Blu-ray release of this one. Jason X. Jason X. The Friday the 13th movie in space. For me, I kind of grew up watching the Friday the 13th movies on TNT, TBS late at night. My mom would go to bed and then I'd stay up late watching these movies, and I watched them all out of order. I didn't understand the continuity of anything like that, and scattershot kind of watched them in secret because my mom was not into that type of thing at all, and so it's just kind of me in secret watching this stuff. And then jump forward, and Jason X came out. As someone who's familiar, watched all the movies, totally scattershot. And my friends were like, hey, let's go see that new Friday the 13th movie in space. I don't even remember the context under which we went to go see it, but me and my most obnoxious friends went to go see Jason X at the Dollar Theater. And it was just one of the most fun movies I'd ever seen. The movie's very... Well, it's a terrible, like on a cinematic, like filmmaking is an art. It's a terrible movie on those grounds. Even as a horror movie, it's just so goofy, it's not scary at all. But it's a movie that's aware, very self-aware that they're making a very schlocky Jason movie in space. They know that they are doing the cheapest gimmick that you can do in taking Jason Voorhees, cryogenically freezing him and sending him into space and into the future. And with that, they have a lot of fun with it. Whether that's some little one-liners like he got screwed when a guy falls on a gigantic screw thing. My favorite part of the movie is when it starts poking fun at the franchise. It's these girls kind of pop up out of nowhere in a hologram to distract Jason. Like, we love doing drugs and boys, and then play off of one of the great kills in the franchise. Puts them in a sleeping bag, and just starts smacking them into each other and things like that. It's just so ridiculous, over the top. When you get Cyber Jason. It's just fun for me. Not a good movie. Not necessarily fun and great for the right reasons. Not because it's a scary movie, but just as a movie that I have nostalgia for, that as a piece of entertainment, as a movie that's self-aware, it knows it's bad, but it just plays into all the fun you can have with the badness. I thoroughly enjoy Jason X, and that's in preparation. I'm going to be ranking all the Friday the 13th movies. I don't have a date on that one, but I only have one more to watch, so that's very soon. Should be before Halloween. Might actually follow on Halloween. Second thing I watched this week, actually second 1.5 things I watched this week in preparation for a movie coming out in just a few days that I know a ton of you guys and me, and especially Lee, are very excited about. Watched the first 1.5 of the Halloween movies. So when you start talking about reasons that I thoroughly enjoy these two movies, Jason X is, it's like very lowbrow reasons. And Halloween, for me, I think is probably what I think is the best of the slasher genre. John Carpenter, a guy that's kind of a master of simple storytelling, of taking real simple premises and getting the thrills, the scares, the action out of it without needing this complex plot, real simple, and then having musical themes that are simple, straightforward melodies that stick in your head. Like, very good at simplicity, excellence through simplicity, and then that's what you get even in, of course, the Halloween and just these basic ideas of what if there's this man that's pure evil and on Halloween gets freed and is wreaking havoc on a city while being chased by the person that had been treating him. Very straightforward, but played for the right amount of creepiness, the right amount of scares, the right amount of tension, and just right from the beginning, it just builds and builds and builds towards the end of the film, and that's what John Carpenter does so well. Jason X, there's nothing really great about this movie. It's just a great memory in my life and total schlock value. John Carpenter, the master of excellence through simplicity, and so then that's one that, as a fan of his, I'd watched the original Halloween, going back, and always enjoyed all of his kind of classic early stuff. But I never really watched through the whole series until last year was the first time I watched all of them. I'd kind of seen some of them at some points in time, but hadn't watched all of them until last year, and then watched all of them, ranked them, and then I've got that coming up again this week. So actually right now I had was in the middle of watching Halloween 2 and made about halfway through it and then had to pause it because I had to do some other things and shoot this video for you. So I can't quite talk about that one since I haven't watched the whole thing this week. I was hoping I could get it finished to talk about it in here, but didn't quite happen. So there you have it. That's what I have been watching this past week in preparation to talk about them. My full thoughts will be on my channel shortly. Lee, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this and get to be on your wonderful channel.
Next up, super excited to finally have Bloodbath and Beyond on my channel. As far as I was just talking to Mother Mayhem actually on DM, and I was talking about Bloodbath and Beyond and Jay and Travis and Colin and John and just the work that they put into their channel. And they're probably, from a production standpoint, probably the highest level that you can get production-wise for a YouTube channel. Like, I could turn on the television and see Bloodbath and Beyond and not miss a beat. It looks like a studio production. They do such a great job with their content. They don't just deliver the goods with quality reviews, but they make sure that every little nook and cranny of the production is top notch. And really, they are one of those channels that I've always looked up to, and one of those that I will admit I've watched a few of their videos to get ideas, as many I'm sure have done. They are kind of the ultimate goal for horror reviewers on YouTube. If you reach that level like they have, it's really just amazing. And they are one of the channels that I definitely wanted to get on 31 Days this year. Because, putting the production aside, if you look at the reviews that they do, a lot of those B-level horror movies that are new releases, they review them and they give them the fair shake. They give them a quality review. And there's not that many of those channels. There's a lot of channels that would, when they're at that level, they would just try to do catalog titles like Fridays and Halloweens, and then they would do the bigger releases. They do those, but they also try to touch a lot of stuff that most people would not even bother watching, and they find a lot of those hidden gems. So, such an honor to have those guys on my channel, and I hope it's the first of many. And anyway, guys, Bloodbath and Beyond, this is huge. Take it away, guys.
Firstly, thank you very much, Lee, for having me on the 31 Days of October and for having this in general, because so many of us creators are on the platform just making tons of different videos about our favorite horror movies this month, and sometimes it can get overwhelming. I know my feed's blowing up, mainly your videos, because you're making them every single day now leading up to Halloween, but it's nice to have this just kind of weekly video of a bunch of different people sharing their opinions on the stuff that gets them into the mood of Halloween and, October, the whole fall season. So I've got a stack of Blu-rays here that I want to talk about that I either watched recently or just recommendations. I got a big glass of beer here in my skull mug, so I'm just gonna talk about them. So we've got Tales from the Hood. When it comes to Halloween, for some reason, I just love horror anthologies. Obviously, Trick or Treat being the main one that most people gravitate towards, but Tales from the Hood is one of those movies that I think everybody needs to check out. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, anthology of all time.
Welcome to hell!
It's creepy, it's funny, and it has social commentary, and it talks about serious issues while having fun, so I highly recommend Tales from the Hood. Now, on the flip side of that coin, they just came out with a sequel, Tales from the Hood 2. Now this one, I know a lot of people don't like, and I had my fair share of problems with this. Once again, it is a horror anthology. Tales from the Hood 1 had like a creepy horror vibe, and Tales from the Hood 2 just simply does not have the same thing. It does have like still short stories. I think there's 4 or 5. It falls flat on a lot of them, but I did watch this because, you know, it just came out. It actually just hit Netflix, so if you are interested, it is on there. I don't know. That's why I have a recommendations pile, because not all the movies that we watched were great. Beer break. Next up, we have Halloween 2. Now, I just have the complete box set. I don't have like the cool one where it's, you know, all the individual discs. So I've got like the little mini one with just the 2 Blu-ray discs. But it is signed by Nick Castle and Tony Moran, so that's pretty cool. Obviously, in preparation for our channel, we did Halloween 2 and H2O. We wanted to review the Laurie Strode timeline. Unfortunately, we won't have time to get Resurrection done, but doing number 2, I don't love it as much as I used to love it. Watch Halloween 1, and I seem to love it all the time, every single time I watch it. But number 2, like some years I'll like it, some years I don't. This year, not so much. Loomis is kind of like a wild card. He just seems really off.
Samhain. It means the Lord of the Dead. The end of summer, the festival of Samhain.
For somebody who's been with Michael and should know, you know, kind of his psyche, why would you not go to where Laurie Strode's at? Why are there no security guards after she's just been attacked and the killer's missing? Like, there's a lot of weird little plot holes or like problems with the film that I think a lot of people overlook.
I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is.
I would put this closer to the bottom of the list, to be honest. And I know that frustrates some people, but hey. Next up we have H2O. I really enjoyed H2O. It seemed fresh. Having Jamie Lee come back for H2O and like incorporating some other like popular people, like we got Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, Mr. LL Cool J himself, the erotic novelist. That was actually a really odd inclusion and a weird character, but I really enjoyed it. It was upbeat. It was also just like easy to digest. Even though there's not like the over-the-top crazy kills that you would want, it's still a really, really enjoyable movie. And I think it's probably one of my favorites. I would put it in my top 5 for sure of the series, where H2 ends up in the bottom half. Sorry, not H2, Halloween 2, but H2's there too, don't worry. Keeping along with the theme of anthologies, we checked out The Witching Season. Now this was interesting because it's actually a web series that you can find on YouTube, and this is just a Blu-ray that has all 5 episodes, and I think it's something cool to watch. It wasn't the greatest, only because I didn't really like that it was actually webisodes put onto a Blu-ray. If I watched them like one at a time, then I think it would have been better as opposed to watching them all in succession. If you want more Halloween anthologies, I think it's worth checking out at least once, or at least check out a couple shorts that you can find on the internet. Beer break. Now moving on, I have a couple recommendations, but actually, there's one more that I think you guys should watch. Bloodfest. We recently watched that. That's a really fun movie. It takes place in a theme park. There's some like crazy over-the-top stuff. There's a lot of different horror movie aspects, lots of callbacks, trying to incorporate itself into the real world. But it is a really, really fun time, and I think that a lot of people would enjoy it, so check that out. Moving on, we have The Houses October Built, an excellent, excellent movie to get you in the mood for Halloween because it revolves around Halloween haunts. So if you're into haunts or found footage or that kind of movie, like this is amazing. There are some issues, obviously, because it is found footage. It doesn't completely play out like a proper documentary, but it is enjoyable and creepy. Along this same aspect, Hell House LLC is amazing as well. The first one, totally excellent. Something happens at a haunt and it's wild. There is a sequel that's on Shudder right now. That one is a little iffy. Staying on like attractions and haunts and stuff. Funhouse Massacre. Super good gore, great indie slasher flick. It's got some Robert Englund in there. There's lots of creepy, weird clowns. Very cool. Funhouse Massacre. Sorry, I'm trying to speed this along. I realize how much I'm talking. Terrifier. A lot of people have been talking about this one recently. Well, I'm not a huge fan. I thought it was like pretty decent. You know, this obviously stemmed from All Hallows Eve, the horror anthology, another one that maybe you should check out. I wasn't a huge fan of All Hallows Eve. There is a fan base for it, but anyway, it did spawn Art the Clown. He's crazy, he's wild, and he does some brutal, brutal things in this movie. It is also available on Netflix now. Most people seem to love it, and even I think I gave it like a 2.5 out of 5 because there's not a huge story to it, but if you just want something gritty and you want to see a killer clown doing what he does best, Terrifier. Check it. I keep thinking of more horror anthologies and realizing that I like them. Tales of Halloween. If you haven't seen Tales of Halloween, it's just super, super cool, and I highly recommend that one. So that's what I've been watching, and those are a couple recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you again, Lee, for having me on. I am Jay from Bloodbath and Beyond. If you're unfamiliar, check out our channel. We do horror movie reviews with a main focus being indie horror slashers and just random indie movies generally, and some 80s throwbacks. Hopefully there was something here that you may not have heard of, or something that might have piqued your interest, and you can enjoy something new this Halloween. If you guys have recommendations, definitely let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at bloodbath_TV, and have a great Halloween.
Okay guys, thank you so much to my guests. First off, before we get into what I watched, be sure to go in the info box, click on those channels, and give them a subscribe if you have not yet, because they are all well worth your time. Now, looking at my Letterboxd list here, I watched 7 movies, but 3 of them are Halloween movies. Actually 5, but I don't have 2 of them on there. So let's say the first 5 Halloween movies I did because I did my daily vlog. I'm not gonna go in and give you my thoughts on all those because I've reviewed Halloween ad nauseum. But this was a fun little experiment to just throw every movie in every day and just do kind of a vlog about each movie. And not necessarily about each movie, like for a couple of them, like for Halloween 4, I went to Halloween Horror Nights, which was a lot of fun actually. And I got to do the Halloween 4 ride, which was so freaking badass. You know, and then for Halloween 5, I went to like a haunted restaurant, just tried to mix things up. Halloween 3, I did a full-on Drumdums watches. Right after this, I'm doing a Drumdums watches for the Blue Myers cut. So that's what's, you know, I did a lot of Halloween this week. And then I got 4 movies outside of Halloween that I want to share with you guys. First off, a movie that I'm about to review here pretty soon. It's a Patreon requested review. It's a movie I've seen before with Brittany Snow called Would You Rather? And this was my second time watching it. I know that a lot of my friends give me crap for second time watches. I really liked this movie the first time, really liked it this time. So I don't even know why I told you all that. But Would You Rather is a really interesting movie because at face value, with a name like Would You Rather, it could be one of those, you know, shticky type of horror films that's just kind of like tongue-in-cheek, fun, millennial type movies. But no, this is actually a really well done film about a person who is trying to save her brother. That is really what the story is about. So she goes and plays this game, Would You Rather, to try to save him. And there's a lot of, you know, heartfelt scenes with Brittany Snow throughout this. And you got some pretty like Saw level feats that these characters have to do around this table throughout the movie. And a lot of it is pretty, you know, pretty cringeworthy. And I mean that in the best way. You know, some of those scenes you're like, you want to look away from it. So yeah, but you know, this isn't just for shock value though. There's actually a really good story there. So Would You Rather, definitely check that one out. Next up, after going to Halloween Horror Nights and doing the Poltergeist ride, I thought I need to watch Poltergeist again. It's one of those movies in the 80s I watched a million times on HBO. And it's one of my favorite horror films. And it's funny, you know, every time you watch it, you think, wow, this was PG back in the 80s. But today, this would not be PG. You know, there's some pretty, you know, crazy stuff in Poltergeist. But more importantly, it's just such a well-directed film by Tobe Hooper. And some would say Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg wrote it, he produced it. So I'm sure he had a heavy hand in the direction too. You know, I know most of the behind-the-scenes stories and how some people say he did direct all of it. But, you know, it is a classic. It really is. It's such a classic that I still haven't watched the remake. I have no desire to watch the remake just because I think that movie, for what it is just perfect. I don't really want a retelling of that story. But yeah, it's one of those that I like watching every year if I can. Next up, You're Next. That's what I did. I did Adam Wingard's You're Next. And actually, speaking of Adam Wingard, I got one more movie of his that I'm going to add to this list because I just watched it today. But You're Next is one that I've been planning on reviewing for probably the past couple years, and it's just like it keeps getting pushed to the back of the stack. But it's one of my favorite modern slashers. You know, it's a very well-written script. And then Sharni Vinson, who plays the final girl in the movie, is probably, arguably, one of the greatest final girls, at least of the last 15 years, if not ever. I mean, if your final girl is one that just completely kicks major ass, on that alone, then she would take the cake. You know what I mean? I know there's a few other factors that make a great final girl, but she definitely, you know, fills that gap. And it's really a fun ride of a movie, actually. You know, and I'm one of those that I always defend Adam Wingard. I think he's a very underrated director, actually. You know, doing this, doing The Guest. I actually liked what he did with Blair Witch. And then this other movie that I'm going to talk about. But before I get to that movie, let's talk about a piece of shit, which is Prom Night, the remake. You know what? You can say that there is some decent acting in this movie. I will give it that. And I will say that the killer in this movie, for what he does is good. I had no problem with the killer, but every kill in this movie is a cutaway. And every time it happened, I got pissed off. And the big thing that really pisses me off about this movie, more than any other remake, is that it's not really a remake of Prom Night. It just steals the name. The story is completely different than the original movie, and I get freaking heated when I even talk about it. You know, if you're remaking a movie, you have a template there that I think there's certain things you have to abide by. Otherwise, you're just ripping off the name. And that's what this movie does. Yeah, both movies have a prom in them, but there's a million movies that have a prom in them. But as far as like characters, as far as like motivations, as far as, you know, plot, everything is completely different in this movie. But, and I'll leave you with this. I can't think of one PG-13 slasher that is great. There might be a good one out there, but in the comments, let me know one PG-13 slasher that is great. And if you say Happy Death Day, I highly disagree with you. Okay, last movie I want to talk about is another Adam Wingard movie, and I know I'm going to get some controversy on this one, but I watched Death Note again, and I liked it the first time, and I really loved it this time. But I've never seen the anime version, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of people don't like it. You know, they hold that anime so near and dear to their heart that it's hard to let it go, and I understand that. I really do. You know, if you're trying to remake Halloween like Rob Zombie did, I'm gonna probably pick it apart because it's hard to not compare it to the original. And I did get some blowback on my Rob Zombie's Halloween Revisited because there are people that love what he did with Halloween. But, you know, jumping back to Death Note, I haven't seen the anime. So I went in blank slate with this movie, and I thought it was very well written. I love the premise, and I know the anime is the reason for that, but I thought Alex Wolff did a great job in this movie. I loved Willem Dafoe as Ryuk. I actually want to review this movie. You know, I did kind of a review of it on a Drumdums Drive, like when it first came out, but I'd like to do a full-fledged review because I enjoyed this, you know? So, and you know, I even posted on Killer Flicks, and there were a lot of people that said, no, you're wrong. I hate this movie. So maybe that's just the way I am with Prom Night. I'm sure, like Lindsay from Mother Mayhem, she loves Prom Night. So I guess there's an audience for that. But anyway, guys, I'm rambling. That is the end of 31 Days of October Week 2. We got 2 more weeks to go. And yeah, having a lot of fun with these. And it feels like it's been forever since the last one because I've been doing these vlogs. But after this, I'm going to jump right out there and I'm going to be filming that vlog. So that'll be dropping today. And then this episode is going to drop when you're watching it right now. So anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks. Get you a 31 Days of October Killer Flicks t-shirt. Where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Also, follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.